promoting the free exchange of ideas, questioning the status quo, and having some fun along the way. This is the Are We Idiots Show. Now here are your hosts, Mark Weaver and Rich Kroll.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Are We Idiots Show. We are your hosts, Mark Weaver and Rich Kroll.
Top of the day to you, Mark. I don't know if you realize this or our listeners, but if you as an individual or your family make at least $50,000 a year, you make more than 99.5% of the entire world's population, 7 billion people. So what more do you need?
Yeah, but Calcutta has very low expenses. If you're living on a trash heap in Calcutta, your expenses are very low. That was very callous of me, wasn't it?
It was, and I will factor that into when I think about that.
By the way, listeners, we're on lucky episode number 13. I'm not superstitious. Are you superstitious? I never really asked you that.
I'll follow some patterns if something great happens, but for the most part, I'm not.
Yeah, either am I.
Although I'm wearing the same socks on my 13th day in a row in preparation for this show.
Okay, well then there's something. There's a black cat under your chair. Watch out. All right, so we have a great show planned. And by the way, we have our 5-episode challenge out there. I'm going to repeat this until someone tells me they actually did it. The 5-episode challenge, if you're not familiar, is you pick your 5 favorite show titles. Go out to iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify. Look at our show titles. Give your best 5 a listen. By the way, after you pick out your best one, share it with a friend if you wouldn't mind. We like that. And then once you listen to those 5, I guarantee you're hooked on our show for life. So that's my guarantee.
It's a solid guarantee. I'm hooked.
Like I said, until someone emails me and says I took the 5-episode challenge, I'm going to keep saying it.
A couple people actually have told me they are hooked.
But they didn't do the 5-episode challenge?
They're listening.
I want them to say those specific words.
Oh, okay. They didn't say that specifically.
Last thing I'll say, last commercial. We have a few ratings on iTunes. We have reviews and ratings. We only have a couple reviews, actually. Rinky Dink Man sent us a rating on, I don't know who that actually is, but Rinky Dink Man was the handle, and mentioned some good things about you on iTunes review. So if someone could go out to iTunes and write us a review of the show, rate us as 5 stars, we need more of those. So please do so.
Does anybody ever say anything nice about you?
No. No, I'm just the guy in the background. I'm just the guy kind of making things go, but you're the star. We all know that.
You're
Richard.
my leader. Without you, I am nothing.
We're better together. Doesn't that sound nice?
That does.
All right, so as always, we're going to do our Idiot of the Week award here in a couple of minutes. Then we're going to talk about status quo changing. We say it in our intro that we're questioning the status quo. We're going to make some predictions today. And then we're going to finish the show with a new segment called Idiotic Celebrity Deaths, which I think will be funny. I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll try it anyway.
So you're turning morbid death into something humorous.
If people die in stupid ways, I want to highlight it.
And I thought you were boring. You're getting more exciting with every week.
At least that's the role I'm playing. All right, Richie. So we've had a good run of idiots of the week. I think I can say that. And I have a couple more options here. I'm not sure I can beat 2 weeks ago, or even you last week. You came up big last week. All right. A woman in Aurora, Colorado was cited by police officers Thursday after allegedly damaging a microwave at 7-Eleven by placing a urine sample.
What?
By placing a urine sample in the microwave, causing the urine to explode.
I got to hear more.
The clerk told police that she saw Angelique Sanchez, 26, exit the store after the explosion, and that there was yellow liquid dripping from the microwave, and the smell was unquestionably urine. The clerk had demanded that Sanchez clean up the mess, but Sanchez simply wiped out the microwave onto the floor and left. This prompted the clerk to call the police, who were able to locate Sanchez down the street at the health clinic where she was awaiting tests for a future job. And by the way, the police in the article, the police said, this is not the first time that urine has exploded in a 7-Eleven microwave. Last year, police in Oregon responded to a similar incident at a 7-Eleven when a suspicious object, I can say that, exploded in the store's microwave. Police evacuated the area and even brought in an explosives team, only to learn that the suspicious object was really a urine sample wrapped in a hand warmer. So evidently there's an epidemic of people
And here's the thing.
eating their urine
Here's how wacky I am. I know exactly why they're doing it.
to make it more normal because it's not real urine or something. Or what?
Well, no, you're going in
fake urine.
You're going in for a urine test,
Right.
Which is typically looking for
drugs.
Right. And in their mind, they think they can microwave the drugs out of the urine sample. So
I thought it was to make it warm to make it look like they really.
no, I
just
think
peed.
I think it's to kill, in their mind, kill the drug sample or the detection of drugs in the urine. The problem is they shouldn't put it on for 5 minutes.
and go shopping.
Yeah, 15 seconds is all you need.
So that's nominee number one.
That's a good one.
Angelique Sanchez. Nominee number two, a man was mauled to death this week by a bear after he reportedly tried to take a selfie with the creature. After stopping to go to the toilet on his way home from a wedding, Prabhu Bratera is said to have spotted the apparently injured animal at the Nabangaru district in the Nabangaru district of India. His fellow SUV passengers advised him against going to try to take a picture with the creature. But as he sidled, you don't hear that word a lot, sidled. As he sidled up, the bear struck and a struggle ensued. Forest Ranger Mahadaha said Bharata died on the spot, but he did add the bear is being treated for its injuries.
So he got him. He got a couple good shots in.
Well, they think the bear was injured, and that's why he felt comfortable approaching it, but he probably got some shots in on his way to his death.
If he was a celebrity, you could add him to the celebrity death segment.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's a good point. So yeah, he even when a bear is slightly injured, you don't want to sidle up to him and take a selfie.
No.
So those are the nominees.
Well, these are sick.
There were some good ones this week. There was actually another teenager that died trying to take a selfie in her car, but I won't bring that one up. So those two. Any commentary and or
Ms.
decision?
Sanchez is actually maybe idiot savant, right? Part genius, part idiot, because she was onto something, right? I mean, why not put Jell-O or yogurt in your urine sample? Do
How
something.
about just get a friend's urine?
If it's that
isn't that the
simple-
old school way of doing it? That's the way you and I got jobs, right?
Right, that's how we did it. So that's really disgusting. The second one, let me tell you something.
You don't like the social media anyhow, so...
Well, here's a general rule of thumb. If something is 8 foot tall, 1,000 pounds, with sharp teeth and claws,
and hasn't eaten.
in a couple of weeks, I try not to get involved with it. So I'm going to say Ms. Sanchez was just a moron, and our happy friend in India, God bless him and rest his soul, he's
in peace.
the biggest idiot, clearly.
Does our check get cashed in India this week?
What is India?
By his heir.
What is India currency?
Rupee? The rupee, I think.
Well, then you got to send
Some rupees? How many?
49,000 rupees.
All right, send that rupee check to Mr. Bharata or his heirs. All right, so we're going to transition now, and we're going to talk about how the status quo is changing. And we teased this last week with the marriage equality changing in our lifetime. There's been a lot of other things since you and I were born in the early 60s. I was looking this up, Rich, in anticipation of the show. Did you know back in the early 60s, if a husband and wife applied for a mortgage, banks would not accept a woman's income towards the qualification because it wasn't deemed that was acceptable because it was assumed that women wouldn't be working or would be taken off to have kids. So they'd only accept the man's income, even if the woman worked full time. I mean,
I didn't know that.
There's a lot of things that have changed. Obviously, in the 60s, the South was still segregated in a lot of ways. So as we mentioned last week, this is a continual evolution of society in things that are no longer acceptable. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I think I'll start with technology because technology is probably the quickest and the most obvious, and we've seen it with newspapers and voicemail. Now we're seeing, these what they're called cord cutters. The millennials are cord cutters, meaning they don't have cable or FiOS, fiber optics coming into their house to get TV.
So they're not in prenatal cutting umbilical cords.
No. And by the way, I did not want to do that when I was a father. That kind of grossed me out, but that's a whole different subject. We're talking now about 5G technology. So in addition to cord cutters, they're basically saying that over-the-air 5G will be faster than any fiber optics, and you won't even need to be attached to anything. We've seen what's it called? GPS system. They're incorporated in the phone, so people don't have to read maps anymore. So in the technology realm,
Bitcoin,
Bitcoin
currency
could
going
disrupt.
away.
That would be great if it could disrupt the federal monopoly on money, but that's another one. So what are your thoughts around the technology realm before we move into some of the more touchy subjects?
That's an easy one to predict. The answer is yes, yes, and yes. Right? Because everybody wants to do things bigger, faster, easier. And if technology is going to make somebody's life easier or eliminate a task, absolutely. I mean, look at all the shopping done online, right? Brick and mortar stores are suffering. Everybody using Amazon. I do half my shopping online now, especially when there's free shipping. You can research, do your due diligence, see a million things a lot quicker. You avoid the insanity of parking and population,
The
masses
time
of,
in the car.
standing in line with people punching each other because somebody. So, absolutely, that one's an easy one to predict. And everything. Look at a television, right? I mean, you and I grew up on these little black and white big tubes, and then I bought a plasma TV 15 years ago for $4,000. Now you can get one for $100. So things are getting bigger, faster, clearer, stronger, happier, easier. So I believe anything related to technology will come true.
And just the fact that we're doing this podcast is an example of appointment television, appointment radio, where a certain radio show was on at 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. or the newscast is on at 6 p.m. or what have you. And in the future, it's pretty obvious that everything's going to be on demand. You can get it whenever you want it, and you can get whatever movie you want whenever you want, whatever show you want whenever you want. And you can play it whenever it's convenient on whatever device you want. So appointment radio, appointment television will eventually die as well.
Now, unlike you, I don't agree that all of it's positive.
Okay, why not?
So, Terminator, right, is starting to become real. And ultimately, if artificial intelligence and machine learning can create itself, there's a scenario, maybe it's 100, 200 years away, so nothing to worry about tomorrow. But driverless cars and robots starting to get smarter and smarter. And now they're programming robots to actually understand and present emotion and then potentially have feelings. I could see Terminator, where robots at some point start making themselves and want to take over mankind.
Cyberdyne Systems.
Cyberdyne Systems. We referenced it in another show related to something else, but even what was the Will Smith movie where the one robot goes rogue and
I Am Legend? No, that wasn't it. Was it I Am Legend?
Is it I Am Legend?
I think so.
Anyway, I can see how technology, much technology
doesn't a programmer have to program the thing? Can't they program around that to avoid it from
if the machine gets smart enough?
How about War Games? Remember that? War Games back, Matthew Broderick, 1980 circa. That was
I remember it very well.
The robots took over.
Thermonuclear war.
No one can win the game.
Right. So all this stuff, to me, there's a limit, right? I mean, driverless cars. There was an accident, a couple of weeks ago. Next thing you and I are going to be flying rocket ships. I do not trust you in a rocket ship to go to Mars.
Well, driverless cars are a good example of why I think technology is fabulous, because they've already done the studies, and yes, driverless cars will kill people, but they'll kill a lot less people than humans do because they make better decisions. They're not emotionless. They're not being distracted by texting. They're not drunk driving. So That is, I don't know if society's ready for it, but and also the efficiency of Uber-like devices. Like if people stop owning cars, because cars are really inefficient, they sit 90% of the day. If you just call up a car whenever you needed one on demand and take you wherever you wanted to go, you don't need to own a car, and it'll be a lot safer than people driving. So I think that's a great a step for civilization.
Well, then you have. Do you remember the movie Stepford Wives?
I never saw that, actually. I've heard about
So
it.
basically, it's a perfect society, perfect cul-de-sac neighborhood. Everybody's perfect. The women are all runway models, but they all cook and they clean and they watch football and they drink beer.
Nothing's ever so perfect.
Nothing's ever so perfect. And then you find out that they're actually robots.
Oh,
So
cool.
Anyway,
I would like that, I think.
Yeah, maybe that would be good, actually.
All right, so let's move to a little more controversial part of the show.
So easing your way into it today.
Easing way into it. So we mentioned already at the beginning of the show that women have come a long way since when we were born, but I would contend not very far. And there's lots of examples out there that people just consider normal. But when you think about it, if the sexes are really equal, these are not normal situations. So I brought up one example. I'll bring up one example here. Since we have a basketball background and I actually coached girls basketball in high school, when you look at NCAA women's basketball coaches, there's out of 350 Division I teams, there's over 100 of men that coach women's teams. Harry Peretta from Villanova University was
I know Harry.
You did. One of the
we
first
both
ones.
played against him.
Yeah,
Back in the old
Bailey Park.
Bailey
right?
Park League.
He's been coaching women since 1978. How many women are coaching men's teams, Rich? Can you refresh my memory? I'm sorry. Can you refresh my
It
memory?
begins with a Z.
Oh, and ends with an O?
It does.
Right. There's zero. Zero, and there's not even anyone being considered. In the NBA, there's supposedly this Becky Hammon, who's been an assistant with the San Antonio Spurs. She's the first and only woman an NBA assistant, and she's being considered as an NBA head coach, but I don't think she'll get it. The bottom line, and refs, there's a couple of token refs in each sport, but let's just talk about sports, how unequal it really is.
Well, it depends how you look at it.
Why?
And I'm all for equality. I don't see any difference between a man and a woman with 99% of anything we do. Sports, from the gladiator times, it's been a male-dominated genre. You even discussed all the problems you had, even at a high school level, trying to get equal resources and funding and attention to the girls' program, which is still a problem in college as well. But there's a lot more, from a coaching standpoint, there's a much bigger pool. There's a lot more guys trying to be coaches than women.
That may be, but that's only because that's the way it's always been, and that's a poor excuse for having that way. So why is it that it's been 35 years or more since men have been coaching women, and there's not been one? I mean, you can't tell me there's
Right
not
or wrong.
misogyny in there.
Right or wrong, that's not going to change.
Why?
Because
Why can't it change?
men believe that only they can coach themselves at a highest level of height and strength and speed, that women won't get it.
Why? It's just someone communicating with them and talking strategy. I mean, that has no basis in fact. All it has is misogyny. That's the only justification of that.
But I'm actually okay with men coach men and women coach women.
But that's not the way it is. So why is it? So you should fire 100 men's coaches in women's college basketball?
I just think part of the issue is there's a lot more guys who want to be coaches. They start in junior high, high school, college, move to the pros. There's not nearly the amount of women trying to go that route because of the lack of female professional sports, so they see a dead end.
Well, I don't think we're going to resolve this, but I think that's wrong. Let's move on. Why do you always see men driving? When it's a man and a woman in a car, most of the time you see men driving. You never see a man driving. You never see a woman driving a boat when a woman's present. You hardly ever see a woman driving a motorcycle with a guy on the back. So why are these old, stereotypes still continuing?
Well, you raise a good point. I've never seen a woman pilot when I've been on hundreds and hundreds of flights.
Oh, I have. I've had lots of them. The woman that just landed that Southwest flight.
I'm trying to help your point, and then the minute I do, you shoot me down. That's funny.
Well, no, I'm making a.
You don't think there's a lot more male pilots than female pilots?
There absolutely is. But
And
there's
why?
there's a lot more women nurses too. So
Right, but why? There's obviously 99% of the military is male, and we get a lot of the pilots from the military.
that's because up until recently, women were barred from being in combat.
Well, do you really want a woman in combat?
Yeah.
You want-
if we're in a truly equal world, which is what we're striving for, and I have 4 daughters, you have a daughter, I want my daughter to have the same opportunities as men. And by the way, women should register for the service just like guys have to. When we came out of high school, we had to register.
See, I disagree.
Why?
I still think there's some sex segmentation that makes sense. There's still chivalry in the world. I don't want a 5-foot, 80-pound woman trying to lug a 60-pound gun in the front of the.
If she can do the job, you know, and I know that it has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with can they do the job. And there's plenty of women that are more competent than plenty of men.
If there's a woman who's as strong and as competent, more
Right.
intelligent, and a better fit, I'm all for that.
I totally
But I don't
agree.
want my daughter or my wife or my mother-in-law or my sisters
Why-
in combat.
But why exclude them exclusively on the
I'm not
basis
saying
of
to
their sex?
exclude them, but I'm okay with it.
Well, that you are then. If you're okay with a rule that excludes them, then you are okaying it. I mean, that's the point. Is why have a sex?
I don't know.
rule?
It just seems
I think
humane.
I think you're part of the
Inhumane.
problem there, Richie.
It's-
I think you're part of the problem. Old school thinking. Wait till I get on my marriage rant. We're going to get on that.
Well,
in a second.
time out. No, listen. I want equality for everything else that makes sense. Jobs,
Everything else,
exec-
but the ones that men are better at. Is that your
You're
stance?
talking about putting women in war. I guarantee. Wait, I know the listeners.
Do women want equality or not?
Your premise is that equality means across the board with everything. I would
Yeah.
think women want equality with jobs, with pay, with respect, with earnings, with household chores, splitting tasks with the husband, all
Check,
that
check,
good stuff.
check. I agree,
I
but
don't
why
think-
put limits on it?
Well, I don't think women want to go
How
and
do
get
you know?
shot and
How
killed.
do you know?
Because I know a lot of women,
No,
and
you
one.
don't. You know a few women. The point is, there's
How
plenty of
many
women out there that want to be
How
in
many
combat.
women do you know want to go into combat?
I don't know, but I know there's 30 million people in this country, and a lot of women would want to be allowed to do
Okay.
whatever they want to do. And I
If-
want my daughters to be able to do whatever they want to do, including die in combat.
You would
Yes.
let your daughters go to combat.
I don't have any control over my daughters. They're their own
Listen,
women.
if they're Ronda Rousey, who's an MMA champion that can take down most men, I'm okay with her in the front lines. But
Let them make their own decision.
I think
Individual
that's
liberty.
crazy.
Individual liberty.
how
That's
about
what we're all about.
protecting? Aren't we still supposed to protect our families and protect women if they're
No.
need protection?
No, women can protect themselves. We're all individuals. We're all individuals. We're all make our own decision. They will protect us just so you will protect them. There's no man that protects a woman. That a woman protects a
There
man.
are a ton of situations where a woman cannot protect herself like a man can.
That's why we have the Second Amendment.
What is the Second Amendment, by the way?
Guns,
I'm
the right to
kidding.
bear arms.
Oh, so now
Let me
wait,
get
now
to,
you're
let me
changing.
get to my marriage thing because that's the most important thing I have to mention today.
All right.
Because I will absolutely offend additional people with this. All right. And by the way, scantily clad cheerleaders, booth babes, winter circle babes, they got to go as well because
That's
they're
not going
they're
away
ob-
either.
They're objectifying women and their looks.
That's been going on for 200,000 years.
Speaking of that.
Not that it's good.
Speaking of putting women in second-class citizens, I vote to do away with the marriage ceremony as it has existed for a long period of time.
Well, if you weren't popular, you're definitely before. You're
And
definitely not going to be.
Hear me out, people.
I'm
both,
listening.
both men and women.
I'm listening.
So the marriage ceremony is rooted in possession of a man, a father, possessing the daughter and passing her to another man, the husband, as his possession. That's where it all started. That's why the father walks the bride down the aisle and, quote, gives her away. This is outdated thinking. My daughter is not my possession. She's a young woman who can do whatever she wants with her life. At a minimum, the bride should be walked down by the father and the mother, but she's not a progression. We don't give her away. She's choosing to do this of her own free will. They're entering in as a couple of equal couple. It's not the new groom's possession. It burns me up, this tradition.
I think you've actually ate a knucklehead sandwich today because
absolutely on the cutting edge of this.
What
millennials are on my side here?
What weddings represented 2,000 years ago, nobody even considers today. I don't know anyone that thinks.
Why does the father still walk the bride down there?
It's just tradition because
tradition. It used to be tradition. Blacks rode in the back of the bus too. Is that a tradition you want to uphold?
Well, see now.
I'm serious.
You're manipulating the conversation.
No, I'm serious. Some traditions need to go. That's what we're talking about here today.
You just put words in my mouth.
No, but I'm just saying some traditions need to go.
You take things way too serious and look into them as a libertarian literalist.
Do you know what a best man was? Do you know what the history of a best man was?
I don't care what it was. What was it?
It used to go, the best man used to go and rob the bride, steal the bride from the other village and help them get away. And the honeymoon was a period of hiding when the bride's family came to look for him. So I know that's not the way it is now, but they are still walking brides down the aisle, and there still are who gives this person away. I don't like any of it.
Okay, and we used to have human sacrifice too, but I'm not talking about that like it's a real thing today. Listen, you're bringing up stuff that may have been the case and how things started, but they're not the case now. I don't know any fathers that think like they're giving their daughter away as a possession. It's just a nice little tradition and ceremony.
Nah. How about dating? Guys used to pay for dates, and it used to create an omi, a little bit of an omi from the woman, right? That's what it used to do, whether it was unsaid or not. When a guy paid, it created a little omi for the woman on the date. So I used to tell my daughters, don't pay half for your own date. What do you think about that?
I think it's up to the couple. I mean, I'm okay with chivalry. If the guy, see, you're getting crazy on me. If the couple wants to split it up, that's fine. If the guy wants to pay, that's fine. I mean, are we supposed to stop opening car doors for women now because we're equal?
No, but a woman could open it for us too.
But what's wrong with chivalry?
In an era of equality, if we truly believe it, there shouldn't be any, quote, rules of who should protect who or who should do that. We should both be willing to do that for each other. Whatever.
But I think my wife would agree. She likes when I open the door for her. She likes when I picked up a tab when we were dating. She expects me to protect her. She doesn't feel she can protect me. I'm okay with this.
And that's fine for you.
Renaissance
All I'm saying is there
chivalry.
shouldn't be societal rules. There shouldn't be societal norms, and that's what we're talking about today, societal norms that are going to go away, and I think that's one of them.
But I think you're equating past offenses that are now offensive today because we did things for a reason that no longer apply. I mean, I don't think, obviously, the best man stealing women from villages, and, we're giving away our daughter as a possession, like the cow and the herd I'm giving to the family.
Why does a woman only get an engagement ring? To show that she's taken. That's what the root of it is, and it still goes on today. Men don't get engagement rings. So, I mean, all I'm saying is we got to be thinking about this kind of stuff. If we're truly an equal society and women are truly equal, there's some stuff that has to go. We don't have time, but there's lots of other things on the PC culture to...
Listen, let me say something. I'm going to summarize early before my summary. I agree with you. Men and women should be equal. We should have equal opportunity, equal respect, equal pay, equal jobs, equal response, blah, 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 blah. But you're being too literal with some things that I don't think people think of or worry about as much. And I definitely don't want my daughter in battle against some 6'8" Russian or ISIS terrorist that's going to slit her throat open. I mean, no.
If she was packing, she'd just shoot him.
If it was that simple, we'd win every war.
All right, so we're going to move on to our new segment.
We didn't solve anything.
All right, I'll give you a couple more minutes to banter if you want to.
Listen,
we have a little extra time.
The premise you had was what norms in society are going to go away. Then
Right.
you changed it to what norms in society should go away. Listen, I can predict technology is going to keep changing things. I can predict what antiquated, offensive ceremonies and rituals will go away because they no longer apply to today.
Cursive writing. I just thought of that one. Cursive writing is going to go away.
My daughter's actually learning cursive writing, and I'm wondering why. But you get too caught up in the literal blanket of topics. I just want to make sure that you're okay.
I'm okay. I'm just thinking about how I have a unisex bathroom in my house, and in North Carolina they want still men's and women's room, and I think that's such a manufactured crisis.
Listen, you went off your meds too early today. All right, give me the new.
How about fraternities and sororities? That's another one I was thinking about. Is there's this Penn State tragedy that went on, and I think that fraternities and sororities are getting a bad rap because there's a couple of jerks and bad apples that caused the death of this kid at Penn State. It's a tragic thing, but now they're talking about getting rid of fraternities and sororities altogether. Actually, our buddy Dog wrote in and said to talk about that. I don't know if we have a lot of time to go into that, but I think they're getting a bad rap because people should be able to freely associate with one another, and these one jerks are spoiling the whole system for others. I was never even in a fraternity, and I still want to support the fact that they should be able to exist.
I'm okay with fraternities. I'm just not okay with fraternities forcing a kid to drink himself to death or forced sexual issues or pranks or vandalism or cliquish treating other people badly or bullying other. Yeah, so, again, common sense applies to everything we discuss.
Thomas Paine's back.
But here's one prediction I didn't get a chance to make. I predict that you will never lose your hair. And the reason is...
I can wait for this one.
For our listeners, if you don't know Mark well, he has to shave his forehead every day just to create eyebrows. So he's never going to lose his hair.
And that saying is 40 years old and counting. All right, so now we actually do have to move on because of time.
Hurry up.
So we're going on to idiotic celebrity death. So I'm going to give you the method of death, and I'm going to make it easier for you this week. I'm just going to have two choices. So are you ready?
I prefer three, but go ahead.
No, because I'm going to go four real quickly. So according to medical professionals, this famous American playwright died in his New York hotel suite from choking on a bottle cap that was lodged in his throat. The cap, by the way, was from the bottle of eye drops that he often used. Examiners believe drugs and alcohol in his system subdued his gag reflex, therefore preventing him from releasing the cap from his throat. Which playwright was this? Arthur Miller or Tennessee Williams?
Tennessee Williams.
It's exactly right. Tennessee Williams died. I don't know the exact year here. I forgot to write that down. So you're one for one.
The only reason why I know is Arthur Miller was married to Marilyn Monroe, and I know a little bit about his life.
Okay. Question number two. You're one for one. This famous person died while skiing in the American West when he hit a tree at high speed. Was this Michael Kennedy or Sonny Bono?
Sonny Bono.
And actually, this is a trick question because it was actually
It was both.
And they were both within a week of one another.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's really weird.
There's actually a famous race car driver who's in a vegetative state right now.
Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher.
He drove for Ferrari.
I know you love Ferrari.
I do. All right, question number three. This famous person died when his experimental aircraft ran out of fuel and plunged into the sea. Was that NASCAR driver Davey Allison or John Denver?
Wasn't it also our famous pitcher that your brother-in-law,
Roy
Grammy,
Halladay.
loves?
Roy Halladay. Yes, Roy Halladay.
So there's a lot of answers here. I thought it was John Denver.
It was John Denver. And the story behind the story is he was in an experimental aircraft, and the auxiliary fuel switch was like under his seat, and he just hopped in and took off, and it started to run out of fuel, and he couldn't reach the switch because it was like, that'd be one thing.
That's tragic.
Try to figure out before you go. He was also high on cocaine.
Oh, we left that out.
Maybe
but John Denver to this day has my favorite karaoke song that any United
Thank
States
God
citizen.
You're a country boy?
No.
What is
Take Me Home, Country Road. It's the best West Virginia country, you get the U.S. fans fired up song ever.
If only you could sing.
I try.
All right, last one. This famous child actor died when he was shot as he and his friend went to a guy's house to collect on a $50 bet. Was this the actor playing Michael Banks from Mary Poppins, a little redhead kid, or the actor playing Alfalfa from Little Rascals?
The first one, not alfalfa.
It was alfalfa.
It was alfalfa?
So
I
you
saw
were
it.
3 for 4, but that was pretty good. Alfalfa, yeah, he was quite a loser in life after his fame. He was shot the year before he actually got shot and died. He was shot before that outside a bar. He was a real ruffian. And then him and his friends got all drunk and went to try to collect on this $50 bet. They broke into a guy's house with his wife sleeping there, and the guy shot him, and he was acquitted.
Ah, the guy shot him, not the wife
Right.
shot him.
Yeah, so
See?
remember, the wife can be packing too if it was just an equal world.
If it was an equal world.
All right, Richie, we're going to wrap it up. Any final comments other than I'm an idiot and I want to destroy marriage?
Listen, you're one of my dearest friends, but you are an idiot. You are a literalist, and you take things so crazily out of context that I have to keep you in your place. And many people email me and say, "Thank you, Rich, for helping him. Even he's a smart guy, and we know he's informed. He's way out of line and clueless on a lot of these topics." So
I noticed they never copy me on those emails.
no, they don't want to offend you.
All right, folks, well, make sure you tune in next week when we're talking about the hidden effects of zoning laws. As I'm sure not many of you have even thought of that. But if you looked in the news 2 days ago, California passed a new rule that house builders now are going to be required to put solar panels on the roof of every new home in the state of California, where they already have the most expensive real estate in the country. So we'll talk about that and how harmful some of these rules are. And as always, please remember, if what you see or hear sounds idiotic, then we're just the guys to help you sort it out. See you all next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Are We Idiots Show. Please subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher so you can enjoy all episodes.